I have a question. When was the first time you fell in love? Anybody? Never? I was in kindergarten. At least I thought it was in love. Okay, I mean, I was in kindergarten. And I'm in Miss Tuttle's Mound Elementary kindergarten class. Any Mound people? A couple? One? Wow. Do y'all know where Mound is? Okay. Turn Merlison. Anyway, so I was in Mound Elementary, and in walked Kelly Randall. And Kelly was blonde hair, big surprise, fair skinned, and I was just like in love immediately as a little kindergarten boy, which meant when it became recess time, I chased her and she ran away, okay? Which was pretty much me and girls for most of my life, but they ran away. But when I do things big. So not only did I fall in love with Kelly when I was in kindergarten, I also had a girl I fell in love with at church, okay? Because I had the school girl and the church girl. I gotta make sure they don't meet. Just kidding. Anyway, then her name was Alicia Menchaca. So she was darker skinned, okay, and had dark hair, and so Alicia, same thing. I mean, we get to preschool class, and she would just run from me, and I would chase her, and I was satisfied with that relationship. But anyway, so we're running around, and one day she goes underneath, like we had those tables, those round tables that we did the classes at for little kid preschool class in church, and she goes under there, and the chairs are surrounding except for the opening she went in, so she was trapped. And so I caught her. I didn't know what to do when you catch a girl, so I did what any 5-year-old boy would do. I kissed her right on the cheek, all right? And she looked at me and screamed, "Ew!" and busted out the chairs and ran away. So my thought was, if your first kiss ends in screaming "ew" and running away, I can relate to you, all right? So that's only the worst that could happen, right, I think. And this is the deal about relationships and why we're talking about them for so long, is they were complicated and confusing and maybe a little scary, and we want to make them less complicated. It's complicated for you guys because girls are confusing. It's true. They have 3 times as many emotions as us guys. I made that up, but it seems true, okay? And I know it's true because, okay, they cry when they're sad and when they're happy, okay? I know one time I just got married. I came home from work and I walk in to see my new wife, my new bride, whatever, and she's in there and she's crying in the living room. I'm like, I must have done something. I gotta fix it. I was like, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "Oh, nothing. I'm just happy." I was like, I'm going to need a book or something. I don't understand. I don't even know how to handle this. And girls, I know it's complicated being with guys because guys are the opposite. I mean, a guy playing with a pocket knife cuts off the tip of his finger and he's just holding it on. You're like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Fine. I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it. I'm fine." And they're always just fine. You know what I mean? They don't want to talk about anything. We want to ignore our emotions and pretend. And so maybe not all guys are that way, but it can be tricky. It can be complicated, trying to figure out the whole thing. It's like, do they like me? Do they not like me? And, all of that kind of stuff. And who to date and all of the mess that all of that comes with. And so I'm just trying to spend a little bit of time talking about dating. So if you were here last time, okay, if you're here the last time we met, which was not last week, but anyways, the week before, we talked about what dating is, okay? And we said that dating is the process of evaluating whether or not you're meant to marry a particular person. It's a process, it's a thing that we do to evaluate whether or not you're going to marry a particular person. And you all understand what evaluating is because you evaluate things all the time. Every time you eat, you evaluate. Every time you eat, right, you evaluate. So like I know AJ, if it's green, he evaluates it and goes, "Not eating it, okay? I'm not going to eat it right now." That's his decision that he's making. And Jeremiah, go sit by AJ. Now, get up and go sit by AJ. Everybody on the front row is watching you. Get up and go. Thank you. We'll wait till you're done. Go sit by AJ. If I get on to you again, you're leaving the room. Thank you. All right. What are we talking about? AJ and greens. Yeah, okay. But here's the deal. Okay, so you evaluate when you eat. Like, for example, if I was to tell you that there is some food on this plate, only crazy people would volunteer to eat it without knowing what was on here, okay? And of course, Jeremiah is raising his hand right now. Yeah, okay, the good news is it's a type of chicken. Are you happy now? Yeah, it's chicken of the sea, actually. It's sardines, so raw fish, okay? Now, some of you are like, I'm glad I didn't volunteer to eat that. And I know there's some crazy people to do it, and we'll watch after service as he eats this can and see if he really is glad that he volunteered that he did it. But you would be crazy too, because you're going to evaluate that and go, nope, okay? And I definitely evaluate food when I eat it. I mean, some food I like pizza, but if it's from Little Caesars, I'm not eating it, okay? Unless I have a can of Pepto right next to me, or a bottle, because my tummy's going to hurt too bad. I can't do it. I've evaluated that. So you evaluate things all the time. You do that. And so what this is evaluating a very specific thing. And you even understand that you evaluate before dating. Like there's people that you know that you're not going to date, right? There's a lot of people probably, okay? And so evaluating for who you're going to marry is a big deal. You want to get it right. I mean, you don't want to marry someone and find out they're a jerk, right? Or like, I don't know, a Satan worshiper. It's like, what do they do for fun? They sacrifice kittens to Satan. It's like, oh, kittens. Okay, that's where all the neighborhood cats went up. But like, you wouldn't want to find, okay, that sounds kind of crazy, Satan worshiper. Okay, there's a person you want to marry, Satan worshiper. There's a lot of in between. And so we want to make sure that you get this kind of a thing right. That when you're evaluating something so important, that you figure it out and do it in the right way. And so one of the things that we don't realize is that, okay, people think, okay, the Bible doesn't say the word date. Did you know that? Never talks about dating particularly, okay? Because they didn't do it that way. But it does talk a lot about evaluating. Do you realize this? Okay, and that's what that verse was. It's an example of evaluating. Okay, here's one from Proverbs 25:24. Better to live on the corner of a roof than to share a house with a quarrelsome wife. Which I'm trying to like process what this means. I picture some dude, he's on the corner of a roof like, I'd rather be here than live with you. Okay, I don't know what this exactly means. But okay, let me ask you this. Is this written to men who are married? No, I'll tell you what. It's not like, oh yeah, you better live on the roof than to live with her. No, this is written to a guy who's not married. And it's saying this, it's like, hey, if you find somebody that's quarrelsome, in other words, they want to fight all the time and they're icky to be around, it is better to live in just some tiny place and have this whole house and be with that, okay? And in other words, hey, before you marry that person that's quarrelsome, you better rethink that, okay? So it's saying this, evaluate that. And here's, it's not just women, this is just that example. Here's another one. Don't make friends with a hot-tempered man. Do not associate with one easily angered. So this is what this is saying. You're looking at somebody and maybe they're hanging out in your friend group or they're around, and you notice that they're always losing their temper on people. They're always blowing up and they're always mad. He's saying this, don't become close friends with that person because you're going to be miserable. Now, I don't think it's written to wives. If your husband's hot-tempered, don't be his friend. That's just stupid, okay? That's not what it's saying. But it would say this. If you were thinking about dating somebody and you saw that they're always getting angry and they're yelling at people, and you went over to their house one time and they're yelling at their parents and their parents are yelling at them and there's all this yelling going on, and guess what's going to happen when you get married to that person? He would say, hey, don't be with that kind of a person. So there is this evaluating that goes on in the Bible, and it shows us this kind of a thing all the time. So we want to learn how to evaluate right, because if that's what dating is, then we want to be able to do that. And last week we talked about how to date, or 2 weeks ago, how to date. And I want to talk about a very specific part of how to date tonight, and that is who to date. Who to date. And when we're talking about who to date, you need to understand that we're actually talking about who to marry. Because when you date somebody, you know that it ends in one of two ways, dating does. It ends in being married or breaking up, right? You either will marry this person or you're going to break up. And so if you're going to marry them, then you better make sure you're dating the right people. Otherwise, you're going to marry the wrong person. If you date the wrong people, then you might marry the wrong person. Or at least date in the right way, like we talked about last time. So if there is a breakup, it's a baggage-free breakup. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go back and watch last time. It's youtube.com/iHeartAmplify, okay? And you can watch that there. And so we're going to talk, though, about specifically how to figure out who to marry, because dating is a process of evaluating whether or not we're meant to marry a particular person, okay? A particular person. So you need to know what that kind of a person should be. Like what you're looking for, okay? You need to have an idea. So sometimes my wife is cooking, and when she's cooking, she'll say like, I ran out of something. You need to go to the store and get this for me. And I'm like, okay. She knows I hate going to the store, but I go anyways. And so I'm going to go to the store. And so she wants, that day it was like she needed some butter. She's baking this stuff. She needed some butter. And so I get to the aisle with the butter. Did you know there's like 100 kinds of butter? I got there and I was like, oh my gosh, there's butter in a tub, there's butter in a box, there's butter in a squeeze thing, there's square butter, round butter, so long butters, big butters, there's butter with salt, butter without salt, there's yellow butter and white butter, and there's butter that is grass-fed. I didn't even know that butter ate. There's butter that is like organic, there's unorganic, I don't know, there's all this butter. And so I'm looking at this, I'm like, and this is what I didn't do. You know what? This one feels good to me. That one just feels like, it's got the best packaging. I looked at the picture my wife gave me and went, yep, that's the one. Because I know what happened. If I would have picked the one that just looked best, I would have been coming back to get the right butter, believe it or not, because certain baking things require, I don't know, it's weird. But here's what I say. A lot of times we go into relationships, and this is what we do. I just want to find somebody that makes me feel. They make me feel like this, they make me feel like that. Well, guess what? A relationship just based on feelings is not a relationship that's going to last the long term. There's got to be more to it than that. So I want to give you a couple of things, simple things, that will help you to know what to evaluate for. To know if you're looking at someone that could be, a person that you could spend your life with, kind of a person. So I want to talk about that. And I'm going to give you just two simple words here, and that is character and chemistry. We're going to talk about character and chemistry. More specifically, solid, godly character and fun, easy chemistry, okay? Solid, godly character, fun, easy chemistry. So a lot of times when we talk about our relationship with God, we compare it to running a race, okay? So if you know about running, then you understand. Okay, we compare it to running. And so if you can imagine that you're running this race and you're running towards God and you're doing this thing. In this life, as you're running towards God, you're going to meet lots of other people. And there's going to be some people running this way and some people running that way, people running in all different directions. But if you've decided to run after God, what you can't allow to happen is for you to grab onto, to pair off with somebody that's running in a different direction. Which means I'm going to be running this way and I'm going to say, nope. I mean, they're cute, but nope. And I'm going to keep running and they're going to see this person. And maybe some people, they're kind of going the same way as me, but just a little bit off. But if I follow that person, I go with that person, then what's going to happen is I'm going to get off from the path that he has for me. So I'm just going to keep running this race. And at some point along the way, you're going to look over and you're like, there's some other people running with me. And that one's really cute. I'm going to scoot over here a little bit, all right? And be like, hey. and you'll talk to them, and eventually you're going to find somebody that has this kind of a character and has a chemistry with you. We'll talk about that in a minute. And it's somebody that you can do this life with. But it's going to take some care and some things to be aware of. And so I want to read a verse that we read all the time. And the reason we read it all the time is sometimes I feel like you're not listening, okay? And I needed it too. Okay, I needed it too. Sometimes it's so hard to get this in and to really believe how important it is. And so I want to show you this verse. It's in 2 Corinthians 6:14. It says, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers." Now, it's not talking about egg yolks, okay? It's talking about a different kind. So back in Bible times, they had oxens. Okay, anyways, they had two oxes. I don't know. Two oxen. I think I had it right the first time. So, and they would put a yoke. It was like a wooden thing that would go over them, and it would combine the two together so that they could pull. So they have something that they want to do, and they're going to get their strength together. And they wouldn't want to put, say, an oxen with a donkey, okay, because that's not going to work. It's going to be very bad, and the situation wouldn't be good. And so he's saying we don't want to be connected with an unbeliever. Okay, and now I find that this works better if we could see it visually. And so I just want to see, is there any couples that would be willing to come on the stage? Any couples? I've heard that none of the couples will. Let me do it this way. Let me see this. I just need just a girl, any girl, just not a couple, just a girl, a volunteer. Okay, Lily, I saw your hand. Come on up here. And then I just need a boy, and any boy. Oh. Dare I? This service may fall apart, but all right, Jeremiah, come here. AJ, come here and help me. All right. Okay. Sorry, Lily. No. All right, so you just stand right here, and you stand right here. And so what we're going to do, we're simply going to yoke you two together here. And, okay, I'll put your arms out. Get your arms out. Thank you. Get it like over your tummy or something. Okay, all right, here we go. And so this is my makeshift yoke. Sorry if that's a little tight. Okay. Don't worry, we're going to unyoke soon. All right. All right, so what we've done now is we put them together. You got this?
I'm struggling.
I'll take care of it. Thank you.
Keep struggling.
What did you do to my rope? Okay.
Me?
Okay. He made a knot in the wrong place. Okay, it'll be fine. It's not going to come off. Now, they're yoked together. This is a makeshift yoke. And let's step forward a little bit. There you go. Hey, stop. Okay, now, here's the deal. As long as they're going in the same direction, they're good. In fact, they can go somewhere. But the problem will come, let's just talk, let's just say that she is a strong believer in Christ, is running after Christ, and loves him. And he's a drug dealer, okay? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm a drug dealer.
Okay, actually, this is part of the problem, is sometimes when we start talking about don't be yoked together with unbelievers, you think I'm talking about a Christian who loves Jesus and like a drug dealer who's thinking about murdering people. I'm really just talking about somebody that's on fire for Jesus and a funny, cool person to hang out with. Should have picked different. Just kidding. But anyway, so we're really just talking about normal people, okay? People that you would want to hang out with, but they're not following Jesus. Okay, and here's the deal. Okay, obviously they can go the same, but if they try to go in different directions, y'all walk different directions for me. Okay, stop. Okay, at some point, okay, it's going to be a struggle. He's in a little bit of pain now. And okay, so what happens is a couple of things, okay? One of them will usually overpower the other one, and I'm actually kind of curious to see where that would have gone if I would have gone longer. But anyways, one of them would overpower the other one and drag them along. But, okay, settle down, children. All right, come here. Now just stand still. Stand still. Okay, yeah, just stand still and face the audience. Okay, now, I've done this 13 years. It's never gone this way. All right. By the way, nobody would come up here, and this is good news for you, because every couple that's ever been put on here, and they all know this, broke up. One of them broke up that night, all of them. Yeah, it's been bad. So yeah, no one will do it anymore, so now I have to pick not couples. So that means there's no chance. Sorry. Okay. Anyways, and so here's the deal. One of them will be stronger than the other one and pull them along. Now, if you're the believer, and you're just super strong, no, I'm not wanting you to actually move. Okay.
He's moving me.
If you're gonna be,
the rope tighter.
if you're the believer and you happen to pull them, this is what you're gonna be doing your whole life: dragging somebody along that doesn't really care about Jesus. And are you gonna be able to go as strong as you really would?
Stop.
Okay, can you two both walk to AJ now? He's gonna disconnect you, okay? In the back, okay? And then you can go. Whoa. Careful. Just a sign that relationships are complicated even if you're going in the same direction, okay? You do not want to be going in a different direction. And so y'all go to the back and he'll take care of you. So here's the deal. If you end up going in different directions, here's the thing. Both of you will be miserable, and this is why you'll both be miserable. The one that's not the Christian's always going to be, I got to go to church again. I got to go do this thing that I don't want to do. I got all this thing I have to do with this person. And the Christian's always going to feel like they're pulling somebody along and doing all this kind of stuff, and their lives are just going to have a tension that they're not supposed to have. When the opposite is actually supposed to be true. How many of you have had somebody in your life that helped you, I'm not talking about dating now, just a friend, that has helped you get closer to Jesus? Has anybody ever had a situation like that? I think most of us have. In fact, if you're close to Jesus, you would say that's probably you. That there's been people in your life that helped you in your relationship with God. Now, that is what God intends for the person that you marry. That person, it's like the two oxen. One of them is pretty strong and can pull a thing. You put two of them together that are yoked the same, and they're pulling, they can do a whole lot of stuff. And there's a lot of things that you can do in your relationship with God that you would never be able to do if you're yoked to the wrong person. If you're yoked to somebody that's going in the wrong direction, it's actually slowing you down. And so he says, don't be yoked together with unbelievers. And that was definitely one for the books. Let's keep going. He says, what does a believer have in common with an unbeliever? You're like, we have lots in common. Oh, we like the same TV show? Oh, you mean that one that 50 million other people like? Okay. And we like the same song? We go to the same school? We both have phones? Okay, I don't know. We have all this stuff. Yes, I know you got stuff in common, but this is the thing. The key thing you don't have in common. The main thing you don't have in common. There's this part of you, this thing of you, if you're a believer who really loves Christ, this big part of you don't have in common. And you won't be able to share that part of your life with them. Over the course of the time Tracy and I have been married, we've had some days where hard things happened in our lives. You know, family members sick or loss of friends, different things like that. Difficult situations. And you know what we were able to do? We were able to get together, join hands, and pray together. We were able to look in our Bibles together and grow together. We were able to go to friends and get prayer together and pursue God in those most difficult times. If you're yoked together, if you're married to a person who doesn't know Jesus, when you go through a struggle in your life, guess what? You don't get to go to the person that you're supposed to care about most and ask them to pray with you because they don't believe. And even if maybe they're putting on, but they don't really know the Lord. And you can't go to them. One person said it like this: there's nothing more lonely. Because some people are like, well, I'd rather be somebody is not be alone. But there's nothing more lonely than sharing a king-size bed with somebody that you can't communicate with the deepest things of life. Now that's a lonely feeling that I hope you never experience, because you won't yoke your life together with somebody that doesn't believe. And I don't just mean somebody that goes to church, because there's a lot of people that go to church and they're not the kind of believer I'm talking about. One country preacher said it like this: you can put a bow tie on a turd, but it's still a turd. I don't even know if you can say turd in church, but I just did. And here's the point. You can some people dress up and they show the whole thing and they pretend like they're this one thing, and then they're not that. You know what I mean? And so I want to show you a verse, one verse that's going to help you give a way to evaluate if somebody is a type of believer that you want to be with. I'm not talking about being judgy and you're not a real Christian. I'm not going, but like that. But this is a big deal. If you're going to pick somebody to date and to stay in a relationship with and to marry someday, you want to be able to evaluate. And so this is a verse that teaches us a lot of what a real disciple looks like, okay? And so I just want to show it to you. This is in 1 Timothy 4:12. And this is written to Timothy about, well, I'll just read it to you. Don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set an example for the believers in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. So Timothy was a young leader, okay? And have you ever felt like people, just because you were young, felt like you were going to be stupid, okay? And they just look down on you just because you're young? He's like, hey, people may do that, but this is how you keep that from happening. You set an example in these ways, and you'll show people that you're really a leader, okay? And this is what we're really saying. If you set an example in these things, people will know you're a true disciple. If you're setting an example, you're living in such a way, everyone will know he's the real deal or she's the real deal because they're doing these things. And so you can look at these things in a person that you're thinking about getting a relationship with, or maybe you're dating them and you're like, I want to know if their faith is real. I want to see. And you can look at these things. For example, speech. Okay, here's just a great thing to think about. How do they talk? How do they talk to you? Now this, I feel like I shouldn't even have to say this, but I have to because I've heard stories. I've heard some of your stories and many stories over the years where a girl or a guy will talk about this person in a relationship with them and they are saying hurtful, mean things to them, like tearing them down, and they just think that that's okay. If they're doing that to you now, listen, a ring on their finger is not going to change that. They do not have the speech of a person that's a believer. You want to be with somebody that builds up with their words and doesn't tear down, but not just the way they talk to you. Okay, this is really important. You want to see the way they talk to other people. How do they talk to and about somebody who's mistreated them? Because someday you're going to do something stupid. Don't you know that that's true? How many of you have done something stupid? All of us. Okay, someday you're going to do something stupid, and you know what you want to be? You want to be with a person that treats people that do stupid things well. And you'll know it by how they act. So when Tracy and I, this is before we were married, there was this person who was a friend of hers, and he mistreated her pretty bad. Said, some things, and it was pretty ugly. And I remember she never would say a mean word back. She always was kind back. And you know what that showed me? Someday, when I'm stupid, and we all do something stupid, she's going to be kind back to me. That's the kind of person you want to look for. So you look at the way they talk. Look the way they talk to you, talk to others. And it says to set an example in conduct. Okay, this is the way that you behave, the things that you do. So let me just say it like this. Are they an example to believers in the way that they act? Could other people in this youth group look at them and go, if I was more like them, I'd be a better Christian? That's the kind of person you want to be with. And I want you to just think, because I know you don't necessarily think this way. I mean, I wouldn't have. But I want you to start thinking this way, okay? If you get married to somebody, you're probably going to have kids someday, okay? And you know who kids look to imitate first? Their parents. That's the first place that they look. So the way that the person that you marry conducts themselves will be the way that your kids imitate. Are they the type of person you want your kids imitating? I know that may be a far thinking out for you because you're like, that's like 20 years down the road. I don't even know what to think about that, okay? But that's something to think about, okay? Is that the way they act? In love, it says, are they an example in love? And like, yes, they love me so much and I love them so much because we're meant to be and all that. Okay, that's not what I mean by love, okay? I just want to give you one example because we could talk about love for an hour. Give you one example. Love, Jesus says, he says, love your enemies and pray for them. Now, here's a great thing to ask. How do they treat people that have mistreated them? I already said that with the speech, okay? But not just the way they talk. How do they love others that have mistreated them? Because someday they may feel that way towards you, and if they can love you back, even when they feel like you've mistreated them, that's a great person to be with. Do they forgive or do they hold grudges? You want to be with somebody that knows how to forgive. Okay, so we're looking at true discipleship characteristics. And some of us may be looking at ourselves and going, I am not those things. Okay, well, that's something to work on because this is what a disciple is. Okay, and the last one, not the last one, the next last one, faith. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is really the whole thing we're talking about. Do they have true faith in God? Can you see it? Are they involved in their church? This is the craziest thing to me. I hear people and they're talking about this new relationship they're in. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, we just started dating and it's so amazing and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow, cool. What church do they go to? I don't know. I'm like, how do you not know? You mean you've committed to being in a relationship with a person? I'm not going to see anybody else and I love you and all this kind of stuff. And I don't even know if you go to church? You don't know anything about their faith? I mean, that is ridiculous, okay? So you need to know their faith and see that it's real and they're involved in doing things. And the last one is purity. And I'm not going to talk a lot about it because we're going to talk more about it next week. But you want to be with a person that believes in purity now. Otherwise, when they get married, that's not going to change. And when I talk about being pure in marriage, I'm not talking about where you're married and you don't have sex, okay? I'm talking about, okay, is it impure for a married couple to have sex with each other? No. That is still purity because that's what God designed it to be. But impurity in a marriage relationship is when they go outside of their marriage, okay, and they cheat on their spouse. If somebody is single and they're always, trying to find other people to sleep with and they're looking at pornography all the time and they're doing all these other sexual things, when they get married, that kind of lifestyle doesn't just disappear because they said a vow. It might for a short period of the opening when everything's like, woo, but then when things get a little complicated or whatever, that's when they, So you want to be with somebody that looks and believes in following God in this area of their life now. That way they're the kind of person that will want to follow God in this area of their life later. Now, I'm not talking about anybody that's perfect in all of these, otherwise none of us could date anybody and none of us are dateable, but they are growing in these things and pursuing these things and you can see them tangible in their life. This is what a disciple looks like. This is the kind of person that you want to date. And the last thing I said was fun, easy chemistry. Fun, easy chemistry. And I don't have to talk about this very much. This is a lot of things, okay? Yes, you're physically attracted to them, okay? That's part of it. I don't think you should date someone you get married and they're like, you may kiss the bride. Okay, I don't want that, okay? Yes, you need to be physically attracted to them. There's going to be that kind of, they're going to make your heart beat. I don't know, all that kind of stuff. But there's also this side of when you will find that there will be people that they're really great and then you just don't fit, okay? The last girl that I dated before Tracy, she was really, really pretty and she was She was serving in this youth ministry. And I remember I would talk to her on the phone, and every time I'd hang up the phone, I was like, ugh, she's annoying. I just didn't like talking to her. And I was like, but she's pretty, I'll try again. And I just kept trying to tell myself, like, it's okay, I can fight through but every time I talked to her on the phone, I was like, can I get off the phone? And I didn't like talking to her. And here was what I realized, okay? We just didn't have chemistry. It was not fun. And it was not easy. We just didn't get along. It was just we were not meant to be together, okay? And it became very obvious. And I share this with you because sometimes, I don't know, you don't know that maybe when you first get to know a person and then you don't know what to do. And I'll tell you exactly what to do. When you discover that somebody's not a true disciple of Jesus, or you discover that you just don't gel with that person, okay? You end the relationship. And that sounds harsh, it sounds mean, but you know that it's not going to be right for you to be together. So you end the relationship. So here's the thing. When you think about dating and marriage, it's kind of like the joining of two people, okay, as they get closer and closer together. Now, when you're married, it's like you're all the way together, okay? And the longer that you date somebody, and the longer your lives are intertwined with each other, the closer you get, and the harder the separation becomes, because the more entwined you get. Does that kind of make sense? And so if you allow a relationship to continue that you know isn't really the right one, you know that we really don't get along, or we really, we got these problems, you allow it to continue, what happens is the longer you do that, the more connected you two get, and the harder that eventual breakup's going to be. In worst case scenarios, you just keep ignoring stuff, and finally you get married, and it's 10 years after you're married, you got kids, your whole lives are completely intertwined, and then everything tears apart and falls apart. It's better to evaluate early and go, you know what? It's time to be honest and just end this relationship and get out of it. And so I want to shift some of your thinking a little bit on this stuff, and not just be, I just need to find somebody that makes me feel good. Okay, the right person is going to make you feel good, but there's more to it than that. You need to look for somebody that's going to be a spiritual leader in your life, someone that's going to help you and grow towards God, somebody that loves the same things that you do, and that includes Jesus. And then you can have a great relationship. But here's the hard part. You ready? Waiting. Because it is easy to find just people that are cute. I mean, so you're like, really? I can't find any. Okay, I understand. But listen, there's going to be people along your life that you could pair off with and connect with. But you need to be willing to wait for the right person. Wait for a person who loves the Lord and is spiritual and going after him. Wait for a person that you truly have chemistry with and connect with, and not try to force something. You just have to trust the Lord. I was 27 before I met or started dating Tracy. And I was pretty irritated with God a lot of the times along the way. I thought I'd be married by 23 or something. I mean, that's just kind of what I kind of planned, He had other plans. I just had to have the period of just waiting. But I was running my life, running my relationship with God, just running. And all of a sudden I looked over, sure enough, there was this cute blonde, okay? And I'm thankful that I was willing to wait. And I was willing to just trust the Lord. So will you trust the Lord? And realize, hey, it's okay to be single and enjoy that season until that person is there, and don't force something that's not meant to be. I just want to pray for you guys, and then we'll just hang out for a little while, encourage you to meet some people. And Father, I thank you that we can trust you with our relationships. I pray that you would give us the courage to not just try to jump into relationships, Lord, but to be patient and to be people who are thoughtful and listen to your Holy Spirit, Lord, as we make decisions in this area of our life. I pray that you would give us patience and let us trust in you. In Jesus' name, amen.